Hey there, I'm Chappie, and this is Sketching Out Lorcana. Certain aspects within a character design can channel certain feelings in the brain to inform us about how that character feels, acts, or fits into the role of their story. While someone could attribute this to different practices of art like color theory, a subject we'll touch on next chapter, what we're going to focus on today is another theory known as shape language. Like I mentioned with Chapter 2, silhouettes go hand in hand with the concept of shape language, making this a natural follow-up to our previous video. So, what is shape language? And how does it translate itself into the art of Lorcana? Well, a bit of a spoiler, but it translates really well, or I wouldn't yap about it to you guys for a few minutes. Just as you can probably guess, this is another example of me putting one of my Twitter posts into video format. Expect the next few chapters to do that as well. They just seem like the best starting points for diving into these videos and expanding our knowledge about the art of Lorcana. Let's explore what shape language entails and how the art team incorporate Disney character shape language within this chapter of Sketching Out Lorcana. Now, let's get this out of the way. What is shape language? Before I answer that, let's go back to the basics. What are shapes? Let's talk about how Euclid became known as the father of geometry. Follow along as we explore his series of 13 books called Euclid's Elements in extreme and excruciating detail. I'm totally kidding. We're going as basic can be. If I ask you to give me a shape, you're going to tell me a shape. There's an example off the top of my head of a basic shape, a square. A square is a basic shape. We know our shapes. We learn them super early in schooling, and it's in our basic understanding of the world to know that everything takes some sort of shape or form. Now let's take a step further in the direction we want to go. Shapes can, whether we know it or not, speak to the mind and help us piece together certain concepts with those shapes. Kind of like how you can smell or taste something and it transports you mentally back to a point in time, like a specific memory that you have from like your childhood or something. Character designers take full advantage of that with shapes. With using those subliminal connections that the mind makes with shapes, the artist can pinpoint certain aspects, personality, traits, or even roles in a narrative by incorporating shapes into the character's design. And that's where we arrive at shape language. Shape language is an artistic technique that elicits certain emotions or characteristics in design with the human understanding of shapes. We mentally equate a trait with a shape we see within the design. That's like really awesome, right? And just like I detailed in the initial Twitter post, this is one of my absolute favorite design theories, and it absolutely blows my mind how someone can take this and learn from it. Some of you might be wondering why I chose Aladdin, Heroic Outlaw, for the thumbnail. Well, one of my favorite pieces of Disney concept art takes a look at the main characters of Aladdin and their specific shape language. It's such a simple sketch, but with those loose details of the character above, and with a loose outline below those sketches, you get to see how they translate into these basic shapes and combination of shapes. What's even more fascinating, in my opinion, is that artistic interpretation lets you analyze this and absolutely run with it, like full on sprint ahead with crazy details and connections through the shapes and what they represent. But I need to stop myself. I gotta put some brakes on my own nerding out, because I just fed you a lot of info without fully explaining some important details. How do these shapes translate into a language? And which shapes help transcribe all of this for us? Let's look at the three main shapes used within shape language and see how they inform us on characters' attributes within Lorcana, and, every so often, how they subvert those expected attributes. Let's start off with the most basic shape, a circle. What's the most commonly known aspect of a circle? It's round, meaning it has no edges and it just is one continuous line. In that sense, there's nothing on a circle, if it were three-dimensional and occupying a space, that should harm you if you came into contact with it. I'm not going to bump into a ball and hurt myself unless someone hurls that thing at me. In shape language, circles are used to portray something as harmless, cute, likable, and malleable. Characters with circular shape language are designed so that they are approachable and appealing to the viewer. If you look at a lot of mascots, you'll start to see their circular shape language and how it's incorporated. But let's get this out of the way first and foremost. Circular shape language does not mean that the character is just a circle. This can be applied for all three shapes we talk about. Just because the character displays a certain shape within their shape language, that does not mean that character is going to walk around and embody that shape perfectly. Think about it in this sense. Circular shape language can be seen in Mike Wazowski so absolutely perfectly, but not every character is going to be designed just like Mike Wazowski. Not every character is going to be a monster designed to look like a sentient tennis ball. Let's go back to the mascots. Lorcana puts in a ton of main characters as heroes and whatnot, and their shape language will harken to a circle more often than not. Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor is such an awesome jumping off point, because he also serves as the go-to mascot for Lorcana. There's the iconic round ears, the rounded boots, the soft edges to his gloves, his nose, and even with the sharp point of his huge scissor sword, the space he occupies fits neatly into the shape of a circle. The circles are absolutely nailed and there in the art. Some other great examples are Simba, Future King, Winnie the Pooh, Honey Wizard, and more recently, Rapunzel, Appreciative Artist. Each are the main character of the represented franchise, and the respective artists stuck true to their designs and kept their shape language immaculate. Each one is approachable, cute, and positively likable. Let's bounce on over to the middleman and let's discuss the shape language of squares. Now, naturally, squares by extension are rectangles with sides of equal length, so it's properly referred to as rectangular shape language. Just wanted to put that out there before I start blabbing and I confuse someone by not saying squarish shape language. Squares, on appearance, look just like they sort of slide, like they wouldn't budge much if you push them. Even if it's a teeny tiny square and it looks like they could weigh nothing, the shape of a square or rectangle just seems sturdy and strong. Through this logic, shape language tells us that characters with rectangular designs are strong, trustworthy, unwavering, and resilient. These characters are easy to confide in and can back up their strength even if they're gentle giants. They're not easy to change or move in any sense, whether mentally, physically, or even emotionally sometimes. When I think of rectangular shape language in Lorcana, my mind immediately jumps to Rise of the Floodborn's Pick a Fight, where we see, as of right now because I'm writing this and recording this before the Lorecast on Wednesday, May 12th of 2024, our only Wreck-It Ralph card so far. Ralph is an amalgamation of all three shape languages at work in certain ways, but his most prevalent aspect is his rectangular shape. My guy's fingers are blocks. His arms are huge rectangles. His torso is a big square. Ralph's got to put some meaning to that Wreck-It title, and his build helps do that immensely. Some more great examples of rectangular shape language are Louisa Madrigal, Magically Strong One, Loud Tiberius Rourke, Cunning Mercenary, and Maui, Hero to All. Now you might see those and notice that one of the things is not like the other. Rourke is not a trustworthy character. That carries over from the subversion of expectations built in from both the movie and the shape language. We'll talk about Rourke more in a minute, just remember that. Let's get the last shape out of the way before we dive into other concepts. Let's get triangular. The triangle's whole shape leads to a point. No matter if it's acute or obtuse, or anywhere between the compliments and slander, triangles always get to a point, and that naturally puts us on edge. Triangles are sharp, powerful, chaotic, and threatening. A triangle alerts us of danger no matter how you really slice it. So what character archetype do you think loves triangular shape language, especially in the realm of Lorcana? Villains. Villains love triangles. Remember what I said about Ursula before in Chapter 2? Just like Mickey Mouse fits into a circle, Ursula's shape language in its entirety points up into a triangle. And she's not the only one. Maleficent's horns, Scar's mane, Chernobog's entire presence. I mean, the dude is the peak of a mountain. That's nature's biggest triangle. They're all triangles. They all show triangular shape language, and they're all villains. They're designed to flawlessly put us on edge and not expect what's coming next from them. Not only that, but these characters are usually super powerful in a number of different ways. Triangles fit them perfectly. Some villainous card examples are Namari, Morning Mist, the Queen, Mirror Seeker, Ursula, Eric's Bride, and wait, what? Elsa Snow Queen? Wait, I'm talking about villains. Why'd I put this Elsa card down? I messed up, right? Nope, you heard that right. Elsa has triangular shape language within her character design. This will blend perfectly into what I've hinted at throughout the duration of this video, both how shape language can be used to subvert expectations, and how we can blend the shape language to get across even more traits and characteristics. Let's start with Elsa, move back to Rourke, tackle a familiar favorite, and then circle back to where we all started. Elsa isn't a villain, as we all know. I mean, we've all seen Frozen, but her shape language can make the viewer unsure, especially with her Snow Queen card dipping into that even more. She has most notably that hood, and her little spikes of hair that are curvy triangles. But remember, these shapes don't necessarily have to speak to all aspects provided to us from shape language. Elsa's a powerful sorceress, hence the triangles worked in. Yeah, there's the hood, but the hood is rounded off towards its base with little circular arcs, and her spikes of hair, like I mentioned, soften as they move toward the root. Elsa's the embodiment of power rather than danger. Triangular shape language is used not to make us uneasy, but to allude to her power. In a Lycan sense, Lyle Tiberius' work is also powerful. He's got rectangular shape language to prove that he's hard to budge, and you can confide in him, just like Milo does in Atlantis: The Lost Empire. But would you trust this guy with your credit card information? Look at both how his hair points up, and then how it forms into a widow's peak on his forehead. His mouth doesn't make a natural smile. The edges are cut off by little angular edges within the face, shaped like triangles, and he's giving a devious smirk. And smirks kind of naturally make a triangle. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing, purposefully made to put us at ease, while he goes in for a gut punch. Another good example that I like to bring up a lot is LeFou, who, unlike Rourke, doesn't have rectangular shape language, but he's got circular shape language, and that's offset by his ponytail and devious smirk. He's made to seem like a bumbling idiot with his circles, but we're given these small hints to show that he's much more in line with a villain's gremlin-like lackey, rather than a hero's supportive sidekick. Now, let's bring back the GOAT. Let's get Mulan back in here. What a queen. We love Mulan. We stand Mulan. This is a Mulan household. But have you noticed that Mulan has strong triangular shape language? Again, like Elsa, this is to show power. While Elsa has her literal magic powers, we know Mulan to have a sharp mind and impressive martial skills. If that's not clicking some gears into place, let's phrase it like this, and let's blow your mind just a little bit. In terms of shape language, Mulan is the antithesis of LeFou. While LeFou is circular and offset by triangles, Mulan is triangular and offset by circles. Look at that round face. And remember when we talked about the bun last chapter? Combine those with the puffy sleeves of her outfits, and Mulan's sharpness becomes less threatening, and more so a reminder that she holds a warrior's heart. And now, we've come full circle, back to the initial Aladdin discussion. Shape language tells us all sorts of things that we need to know about these characters, but it's the usage of those shapes and what we can draw from them that's so insane to me. Let's take the main four of these for example: Aladdin, Jafar, Genie, and Jasmine, since they've got Lorcana cards and they can exemplify their shape language. Aladdin and Jafar are so similar in shape language. Their entire structure is composed of two triangles crossing into one another, yet there's a contrast between the two. Aladdin's structure is rounded out to bring out more of a rectangular shape to his triangles, demonstrating that he's got a rocky past but a solid base. Jafar's triangles have their points brought out and accentuated, really nailing home that he's the villain of the story. Jasmine's shape language leans heavily into the circular realm, with her given triangular action poses to bring out her dynamic personality. And last, but certainly not least, there's the Genie, who combines the shape language of circles and triangles to make a teardrop. While this shape is made to visually defy the laws of gravity, and you can see this on the initial sketches and note, it's important to note the combination of those shapes in particular, because you have the most comedic character in the movie extending from an incredibly powerful point. You have to remember that this is also the most powerful character in the movie, being personified by round features that make him so lovable. His shape language is in perfect contrast, yet perfect symmetry all at once. It's mind-blowing. It's amazing. And of course, the artist Lorcana absolutely they banish it straight to the discard. Like, all of these examples are just expounded upon with the art of Lorcana. And while the origins remain in the art team of the respective films, it's these modern storybook interpretations of these characters in the world of Lorcana that perfectly capture that shape language and shine new light on these beloved caricatures. Dude, I could talk about this for days and days and days, just dissecting the shape language of Disney characters and how they're woven into our new favorite TCG. But I think I'm going to cut it off here and let you guys look forward to another chapter of Sketching Out Lorcana. Next time, we'll be tackling the wonderful world of color theory and how the ink colors can help us understand the placement of characters. And maybe we'll see something else little along the way. I've been toying around with it a little bit. Stay tuned. But as always, I'll catch you guys in the next chapter, and I hope you guys keep on questing. See you real soon. Okay, so another new thing that I wanted to try was doing questions. I basically said, hey, ask me questions on my Twitter for Chapter 3, and I had a few questions come in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cap it at 3, and then my wife came up with this really awesome idea where I make an Excel sheet, and then I put the questions that I didn't answer, because I'm capping it at 3. I put the questions that I didn't answer into the Excel sheet with the username of the person, and that way in the future you still have the possibility of get your questions answered. That way, you know, we have a wealth of stuff to pull from and, you know, answer for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and thank my wife for the awesome suggestion by answering her question. So Allie, my wife, asked, what is your favorite amethyst card? God, there's so many just good cards. And amethyst is really a color I haven't really played with a lot, like messed around with. But two cards that always stick out. She knows this because she has to live with me. She has to hear me yap about Lorcana all the time. Y'all get like 10 minutes every couple of weeks, and she has to listen to me go on about it all the time. But two that really stick out to me is Reflection from the first chapter. That art, and me and her have talked about it before, that art is wonderful. That's such good art. And then Belle Accomplished Mystic from set 4. One thing that I'll always stick to, and unfortunately I haven't been able to really talk about how they do Belle in Lorcana, but one thing I'll always say is somebody on the art team loves Belle, and every time they do a Belle card, it is chef's kiss. Like they do her right. Like they never get Belle wrong. Okay. So next question comes from Citizens of Lorcana. Favorite card art? I actually think Jade, you might have posted a while ago. It might have been you. It was either you or Hakuna Lorcana posted about card arts, and I'm pretty sure it might have been both of y'all. Like y'all just posted on different days. Um, posted about like favorite card art and stuff, and all the time my go to answer, I gotta rep my boy Simba Return King. Not only the original Nicholas Cole card, but the enchanted art. Oh my lord, that. So Simba like ascending Pride Rock and the end of Lion King. For y'all that don't know, Lion King is my favorite movie ever. Like not just Disney movie. That's my favorite movie ever. Like I've got a Simba tattoo and stuff. That scene is like one of my favorite movie moments of all time. Like it's if it's not one, it's like second. And the artist incorporated that so perfectly, but in their own way. It like captured that moment, but it also like brought new meaning to it with how they had like the animals at the base of the rock that he's ascending, and oh god, dude, I love Lorcana. Lorcana is so cool. The art's so cool, and that's why y'all are going to hear me blab on and on and on about it. You know, for however long. I don't know how long I'm going to do these. I'm going to do them hopefully, you know, until I get tired of doing them, which hopefully isn't, you know, super early or anything. But yeah, that Simba Return King, specifically the Enchanted, is my favorite card ever. Isn't that crazy having a chase card? Like your number one chase card is an Enchanted, and it's an Enchanted from set one. So good luck getting that, chap. Um, okay, so my next question is from Better Over There. What are some characters in need of representation? Who would you like to see on the cards in the future? So little spoiler warning. One of my next videos is going to be about, and one of my like little like in between chapters video is going to be about the franchises that I want to see in Lorcana the most, like what IPs I want to see. So I'm going to avoid stuff that we haven't seen, and I'm going to stick to the franchises and movies and shows that we have seen. Um, so one that comes like right to the top of my mind is I think we need more Princess and the Frog. We have a couple cards, like nothing crazy. We got a lot of love for Dr. Facilier, but I feel like we could get more Tiana. We could definitely get more Naveen. We only got one Naveen card, I'm pretty sure. Not only Tiana and Naveen, but Tiana and Naveen in their like frog forms, or like some allusion to them being frogs. Like I don't even know if they even like note that or anything. But I think, you know, Tiana Naveen, the frogs, Lewis from that movie. I love alligators. Like that's one of my favorite animals. So I think like having Lewis would be cool. On that same note, they should have, you know how they have Flotsam and Jetsam as like they kind of go off one another and work with one another in their cards. They should have Brutus and Nero uh, from the Rescuers. That should be a couple of cards that work well. But that's just more Gators. Um, and then, how has she not gotten a proper card yet? Really, I mean, she's got one in set 3, but Nala needs like adult version. Like the little Nala card's so cute, but come on, give some rep to the girl. She's the queen. She's awesome. Um, but yeah, that's all I can really think of right now. Thank you for the questions, guys. I appreciate all of them, and like I said, keep the questions coming. If you want, you can ask them here, and I can add them to the stockpile. But by here I mean Twitter, not Twitter. This is on Twitter. This is on YouTube. Um, I can add them to the stockpile as well, and we can just kind of go from there. But yeah, thanks guys for the questions.